I was thinking this afternoon about when I was in the service, and I was in southern Germany when I was about 19 years old, 20, 21. And I had the opportunity to go down to the Vatican and visit down there and in Rome and about. And one of the experiences I had was to go into the catacombs that were north of the city. And uh, there was a chamber in the catacombs where the very, very early Christians met and taught each other the basics of Christianity. And the catacombs ran off from the central dome that was underground. There was a fire pit there. There was a grate in the ceiling. And the very early folks that were learning about Christianity met down there, and it was all verbal communication, as I'm trying to do tonight. They communicated verbally. Very few, if any, were able to read and that sort of thing. And we were talking about memories a little earlier. I was with John, and that was also one of my memories, John. What I'd like to express tonight is the what we are. And that's where I came up with this little bit of a review idea. And biblically, and I think you'll agree with me that it says in the Bible anyway, in the beginning there was God. It didn't say we were there. It didn't say anything else was there. There was God. That means there was one entity that held all of the characteristics, both physical and spiritual, that existed. There was God. And when God created us, the only material that was there, and the only knowledge that was there, and the only anything that was there to do it from was himself, herself. I like to say that God is both man, woman, and lots of things extra, I'm sure. Being that the case, if God was the only thing there was and the only materials to make anything out of, then everything that we are, every bit of our being, spiritually, physically, whatever we do, God is doing it because we are an aspect of God. We are not God, we are an aspect of God. But he had no other materials to make himself out of, make us out of, if we believe what was said, and I do. So I'm an aspect of God, and you are an aspect of God, and your children are, and grandchildren, and forebearers, all of the way back to the early times. Now, we have done a fantastic job of separating ourselves from one another and from God, and saying it's his fault, it's her fault. She made me do it, he made me do it, this influenced me and that influenced me, but there was only one person in this world that can say, yes, I accept that, or no, I don't. And you don't even have to say it. All you have to do is do it. So there's no way that you can get out of being an aspect of God. And if you look at the ideas of heaven and hell, and I think particularly hell and what have you, it can't be, because all God's doing is sending himself to himself. Now, there's a lot of different aspects here that are negative and positive, but all of them are included in this one entity. And I think we've been given the right and the privilege to decide what we are going to accept and be and do as one of the offsprings of this marvelous being called God. And so what I'm really trying to get at is that we're responsible for absolutely everything that happens to us. We're responsible to make the decisions and to think the thoughts, because that's where this thing appears to me anyway to start, is with the thought of something been presented, you think yes or no to that, and you either accept it or reject it. And we're all here because we've accepted things. And we're not someplace else because we rejected those. That they are part of this bigger being. It doesn't mean that those things are good or bad. I like to look at them, if they happen to manifest to me negatively, I like to look at it as if that's a lesson that I need to learn, so that I can make my life better and other people's lives better. And that's pretty much my message. It wasn't a very long one, but I also thought I would take the chance and say, if you have any questions or comments, or would like to argue with me, I'd be more than glad to attempt to answer any questions you might have.
I have a comment, and that is that today it really came home to me exactly what you're saying, and that there are no accidents, that I'm here hearing it again. I'm responsible for all of it.
Yeah.
Whether I say yes or no to this person or that person, and it's
You're responsible for everything that comes into your life.
It's pre-programmed. We do it when we're on the other side. And we choose bodies, we come into bodies. It's all pre-programmed, and you're right. We're all God's energy. This body is on loan from God.
Yep.
Well, I thank you for saying we're all God's energy, because referring to God as an entity, I stopped believing in that a long time ago. It's an energy. It's a consciousness. The other thing, I think it seems to me that we do before we come in say, I'm going to work on this and this and this, but actually how that comes into being is us right now here and what we attract to ourselves through our thoughts and feelings and words and all of that. So, and you know, it seems to me that So we kind of write our script before we come in. But there are whole lots of ways to get to this one script. I can go around and up around the mountains and down over this way. I can go straight through. I can go under the ground. Lots of ways to get there. And that's decided as we move through life, I think. You know, our script is written by us with a little help from our friends. But
and we make our decision as to each and every step of that way while we're here to follow it or not to follow it.
Yep.
And by the way, there's no such thing as wrong.
That's,
Exactly.
you're correct.
There's
There
no
is
such
no
thing as wrong.
such thing as a right, wrong.
Whatever you do, you will learn and then apply it later.
We're to go to the next step. Nancy had a question.
I'll see if I can say this. I've been thinking recently, you know, how your mind just goes to certain thoughts, and I've realized with my association with metaphysics and so on that it's different than my upbringing, because my traditional Christian faith told me that God was an entity, or led me to believe that God was an entity. And now I'm hearing, I've heard that God is an energy. I also hear, do you have a personal relationship with God? Thinking, you know, it's easier to have a relationship with an entity than it is to have a relationship with an energy, because an energy is an it, right? But then I just got in a way, an aha moment when I was thinking about bringing this up, that if I am part of God, then do I have a personal relationship with me?
That's part of the.
And is that maybe,
And part of the problem is that we don't give ourselves the credit for what we are, and we don't act accordingly to that. We look at the other guy. If the other guy would make me happy, then I'd be happy.
I'm
Well,
just talking about that
yeah.
relationship with, well, you've heard your spiritual father. You know,
I think some
you know
of
what I'm
those.
trying to say?
I think some of those things are things that were expressed that way because of the people's understanding who have been our religious leaders for
Right, right.
centuries. And I think we're beginning to come to a new understanding of some of those things.
Energy and matter are still the same, interchangeable, okay?
Yeah.
So in other words, you've got matter, it can be energy.
Uh-huh.
So if you're looking at God as an energy, it's still the same thing.
The
They're
Is there a
interchangeable.
is there a personal aspect to energy? I mean,
I'm not sure what your question
when you
is.
say God is love,
God is love,
God is love.
period.
but he's also or she is also everything else.
Yeah.
Good, bad, and different. God is everything that that door there is
Oh,
God.
Energy.
It's God expressing itself in a different manner. That's all. Everything is just God, but expressed in different manners.
So what's coming up for me is in relationship to how you asked it, do I have a relationship, a personal relationship with my sacred self?
And I
I think that's our journey.
Yeah, when you look at it that way, I can
think
get that.
I think that's what I may not say it in exactly the same way that you do and what have you, because I think we're formulating that. But I think it's time that we realize that there isn't anything here that isn't been our decision as to how we look at it, and every bit of it came from that one source and is a part of that one source, a part that cannot be removed or it wouldn't exist.
Immerse.
So all of the good, bad, and indifference is
immersed within it.
are within us.
Sometimes when we start saying a part of that, well, the doorknob is a part of the door, you know? So then we're talking about separation again.
Yeah,
So-
but you can say there's different parts,
Yeah,
and they go together this way, and on a doorknob, they may be separated this way and another, but they're never separated from the creator that made everything, or everything manifested out of. I don't know whether made is the right term even,
Supreme being.
Well,
an entity.
to a degree, it's about vibration and density, isn't it? And
Yeah,
because up to my thinking so far, I haven't really dealt with this, and I think that's my next lesson, is to take this within and really deal with it.
Mhm.
But it's easier for me to say, do I have for instance, with you, Jim, do I have a personal relationship with Jim, or next to Jim could be a cloud of energy? Now, what's going to be easier for me, to have a personal relationship with you, or this matter that can't talk to me? It's energy.
well, you gotta be careful when you say can't talk to you. because
Exactly.
I'll
Yeah,
give you an
exactly, Joe.
example.
Exactly.
Well, that's just it. I mean, in my little head, in my smallness,
In Hawaiian shamanism, Dr. Hugh Lin cured patient after patient after patient by asking the universe to forgive him any negative thoughts that he had towards this particular patient or that one. He never saw the patient actually one-on-one. But when he read their medical records, and I'm not sure that that's the right term because we're talking about mental illnesses here, but when he read their records, when he had a negative thought about them, he asked the universe to forgive that negative thought, and it changed the person.
So I just got off the phone with this friend of mine in Utah, and she sent me, I wish I would have brought it, this chart about energy. And it's up to us, we've learned in self-mastery, to manage our energy. And there are many ways to do that, but our energy is really managing our frequency. And so I just learned that the level of reason, if you get above the level of reason, then there's no excuses. Like, well, she did this and I did this and that's why he did this. But if you get up beyond reason to love and hope, love and peace, and then the ultimate is the bliss, the enlightenment.
Understanding.
But if you think about us being energy, and then we have being responsible for the energy that we are, I
Yeah,
just thought that was big in terms of responsibility.
yeah.
That, you know, we get to, and there's all kinds of ways to help us raise our energy.
But the biggest one is to realize that it's our responsibility
Right.
and that we can do it. We're built to do it.
Look at the word itself, response,
Yeah,
ability,
Yeah.
ability to
Mhm.
respond,
yeah.
the highest and greatest, yeah.
So I hope that I've given you something to think about tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And
Thank
I
you.
hope that
Thank
it
you.
will ultimately improve all of our lives. Thank
Thank
you
you.
very, very much.